welcome Bizarrites and Inquirers to Bizarre Inquiries, the show where we start with a clip, article, or inquiry and let our minds wander. I am the big bad. Oh no, I'm not the big bad Boo Daddy. I am Shayn Squatch.
Oh my god, what the fuck is that, bro?
Grab his dick and twist it!
Preferably not. Please don't grab my dick and twist it. And alongside me, I have the person that I was trying to hide under the facade of, the big bad Boo Daddy, Sir Orin Felix himself.
Come to daddy! Have sex with me.
You have rendered me speechless.
Hey, I thought Alex Jones needed to make a new appearance. It's been a hot minute. So,
Okay.
you know, what not a better one than in your intro? The place where people would expect it the least. They would think it would be in my intro, but no, it's in yours.
So first you steal my nickname, and then you pop
mix
some
up the
Alex
thunder.
Jones in there. I see what you're doing.
I'm mixing up the thunder, see? Because
Okay.
we're slowly converting into one person as we do the show, apparently. Just on the show, though. In our own lives, we're our own separate people, but on the show, we converge into one. And we create one bizarre inquiry. I guess that's kind of works, right? It's kind of a matching of shows, even though I'm on both shows. But
I feel really sorry for all the listeners out there if that's indeed the case.
we should start an intro where we say, you know how we normally do the most bizarre show on the internet? We should probably do the worst show on YouTube. That should probably be a way better fitting intro for us.
I mean, not that we're great at much of anything, but I'm pretty sure there is a worse show somewhere on YouTube.
Worst show on Twitch and YouTube? How many people can hold the title of both?
I know
usually
nothing
it's just
about
a streamer.
Twitch, so
Because we're now on Twitch. So, you know, typically it plays for streamers, but apparently podcasters are over there now. And we've had a few people pop in on us. So now we're on Twitch for anybody who hasn't noticed that. So
well, I'm going to take your word for that one.
I haven't fully figured that one out yet. I don't know how to upload videos, how to save stuff on there. Like, I'm not a gamer. I don't know how it works, but I'm using it, man. And I'm going to utilize Rumble soon enough. So for anybody who wants us on Rumble, I will figure it out, and we will be up there soon, too.
Do we need to find some, 14-year-old to teach us how to use Twitch?
We just have to look out about how we go about trying to place that ad. We can't just outright say we are looking for a 14-year-old. Otherwise, it's going to have the wrong context. Even if you say I'm looking for a 14-year-old gamer, it kind of has the wrong context. Maybe we should just say a Twitch streamer. That might work better.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Which kind of leads us into some of our material tonight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so not fully material, but I know that we covered it. Either it was on Bizarre Inquiries or on the last episode of Bizarre Encounters. I don't remember, one of the two. But I want to make reference to it. We're talking about the Annabelle doll, the weirdness around it, how, I forgot what the guy's name was, but the guy who was traveling with it, he ended up passing away under bizarre circumstances, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently, according to new reports, which, you know, again, I didn't figure there was going to be a lot to talk about on this, so I didn't look up an article for it. But, you know, the comedian Matt Rife.
The real pretty one?
Yeah, the pretty boy who usually can't land a joke on Kill Tony. You know, like everybody will make 100 jokes and he just throws out one. And everybody's like, good job, and kind of pat him on the back. You know, that
he doesn't
guy.
have to be funny. It's fine.
He apparently owns the Warren house now. And in turn with owning the Warren house, he now owns all of the possessions within it, which include the Annabelle doll. So apparently the comedian Matt Rife is now the official owner of all of the Warren items and the Annabelle doll. So I don't know how to feel about that.
I bet the Warrens would be pissed off as hell.
I mean, they were fake just like him, so I mean...
Just as fake as his chin.
It's going to turn into a huge publicity thing. That's what I think it's going to turn into. Like, you know, it's kind of like a catch-22. Like, I don't know who this guy is in his personal life. I just make jokes from who I see he is on the internet and stuff. You know, this guy could honestly have an interest in the paranormal. Maybe he has an interest in trying to disprove some Warren stuff. Like, I don't know what his intentions are, but I'm really, really hoping that it isn't just going to turn into like a YouTube, you know, TikTok creator circus where it's just another one of those places that if there was anything to it, now there's just absolutely no opportunity to figure it out because everything's going to be rigged up. It's kind of like the haunted places that they turn into haunted houses, and then the rest of the year they try to make them into haunted tours. It's like you can't ever fully enjoy it because the place is rigged up like a haunted house. So if anything happens, you can't really trust it anyways. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen to that, but...
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that story, and if there's any more developments, maybe we can cover it on a future episode.
That is very true. I'm assuming that within the next couple months, there's probably going to be something that pops up as far as, you know, even just like YouTube creators going to the Warren house and all of a sudden encountering demons and getting scratched, you know how that goes.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? And speaking of what could possibly go wrong, getting into today's very first clip and article. So this is going to be a little bit different than how we've kind of usually did this, but what I'm trying to do here is kind of portray an idea and kind of talk about current events all at once. So within this, of course, I definitely want to do a bit of a UFO update, and obviously considering you started off your show as the framework, I'm sure you'd be totally down for a UFO update.
Let's do it.
So for anyone that hasn't heard of 31 Atlas, I'm going to bring up a clip from Joe Rogan, and I'm going to kind of play through these and kind of portray the ideas I'm going through. But here is the very first clip talking about what exactly this thing is on Joe Rogan. Give me 1 second to bring it up. I got to find the dang... I have so many things up for this that it's making it difficult that I have to... Okay, I found it. I'll just talk my way through. Filling in space. All right, we're good.
Do you hear about that fucking object that's hurtling towards Earth at like 130,000 miles an hour?
Yeah, that might solve all our problems.
This guy, Avi Loeb, he's a professor at Harvard that believes it might be an alien probe and that this object is in a direct line to come to Earth in 2027. I think they're trying to calculate whether or not it's actually going to hit Earth or pass by Earth. Scientists give a chilling update on mysterious interstellar object racing through our solar system. Experts have revealed just how big the object dubbed 31 Atlas really is. The object measures roughly 7 miles in diameter, bigger than Mount Everest, making it the largest interstellar object ever spotted. Professor Avi Loeb, theoretical physicist and cosmologist from Harvard University, suggested the object could be an alien spacecraft. He said it's difficult to imagine a natural process that would favor a plunge towards the inner solar system at 60 kilometers per second. An alternative is that the object targets the inner solar system by some technological design. Oh boy. Do you hear about?
So just to add a little bit more context too, I know on this clip they didn't actually announce when the date was that it was supposed to come near Earth, but they're saying around, I believe, October 31st or near the end of October, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Before I get into the next part, though, do you have any thoughts or opinions on this, of course, other than it correlating with, like, Muamua, of course?
Yeah, I just think like the timing is kind of interesting on this with a lot of like conspiracy stuff that's going on with like
Oh, and we'll get into that too.
a lot of upheaval and changes that could happen in like 26, 27, that general time period. So yeah, this is something that, you know, I've seen kind of pop up on social media and whatnot. Haven't really dug into it super deep. So I don't have a ton of thoughts about this, but yeah, I think it's interesting nonetheless. You know, all these kind of things I think you have to take with a grain of salt because they can pretty much come out and say whatever they want to. And like, who's going to argue with them? You know, you can't be like, actually, it's not 7 miles long, you know? So not that I don't believe it. I think it's, you know, very, very possible. I haven't dug into it enough to really have a set in stone opinion about this.
I mean, to kind of continue on with what you say, you kind of have to only get the information that's given to you. And part of, like, the interesting part about this and Muamua was the fact that it, like, flew close to planets and kind of dipped out. Like, it doesn't move in, like, a natural pattern. And it seems like it's kind of doing the same thing. And, like, the end for, like, Muamua, if anybody remembers, is that it did this, like, lap around the sun and kind of went back out. And again, I'm always making Star Trek references, but there's this reference in Star Trek where I believe it was in one of the movies, and they're trying to go back in time, and they have to like loop around the sun to collect enough speed and energy to be able to burst and be able to go fast enough to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like the idea about using like the gravity of the sun to kind of create this slingshot effect is like something that's kind of seen in sci-fi and still kind of a weird projection for, you know, an anomalous object in space. But I mean, the same thing so far have kind of happened with this. So I mean, either one, it's possible it's another probe, or maybe it's something that we haven't dealt with before as far as like some type of maybe, I don't know, like a material that maybe has some type of like consciousness to it where it can like evade things that it sees as like danger. Like, I know it sounds kind of weird, but, or I mean, even on the other flip side, man, like you have to also kind of entertain the possibility that, you know, if it is an alien probe, more than likely there probably isn't any quote aliens on it. If it's a probe, it's intended to go out and check things out. And just like our probes, you know, you want to be able to kind of leave it somewhat hidden. So if you're going to create a probe that's going across solar systems to go and scope out someplace, what not a better thing to disguise it as than a giant rock? So, I mean, I don't know. Things line up in my logic, but again, who knows what will happen with this because nothing happened with the last one. But
well, I think, I mean, if it's not a natural meteorite or something like that, I think it makes more sense that it is some sort of probe or like remotely controlled type of craft because, you know, we talk about all the time this idea that, you know, people are talking about aliens basically like getting behind the wheel of their spaceship and driving across the universe and, oh, that would take so long. Well, obviously, they're probably using wormholes and things of that nature if that's what's indeed going on. So it seems to me like like you said, if it was actual intelligent aliens on this craft, it wouldn't be like on this like trajectory barreling toward Earth. They would like just kind of hyperspace pop into our atmosphere or our solar system almost. So, I mean, just that leads me to believe that it's probably, if there is some truth to this, it's probably something natural or, like you said, something under intelligent control, but not, necessarily a manned craft, if you will.
Just to throw out another like possible theory on this. So obviously we dealt with that one a couple of years ago. If something gets destroyed in space, like some body of some sort got destroyed in space, like way off in the distance somewhere, of course it's going to break into a bunch of pieces, and these pieces are going to create a bigger distance between them as they go farther out. Is it possible that the first one, this one, might just be pieces of something that may have gotten destroyed in space at some point, and it's kind of like flying towards us as pieces? And as a continuation to that, like, is it possible that maybe it's some type of like very, very dense but like lighter material where maybe it's able to kind of loop around the gravitational pulls of these planets where it looks like it's consciously moving, but it's just a material that we haven't dealt with before, so we don't understand how its flight's possibly working in space, or maybe even like magnetically going against the magnetic fields of the planets? I mean, just to throw out some possible theories.
Well, and kind of getting into like Zachariah Sitchin 12th planet type stuff, if this, theoretically was some sort of planet or something that, exploded, or, another planet hit it, something like that. I mean, if it was a celestial body that big and this is a 7-mile long piece of it, I mean, that's not a very big piece of like a whole ass fucking planet, So, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways you could go with it. Again, like I said, if this indeed is true, I think where I land on it is it's probably more than likely something naturally occurring, whether that's, like you said, a material that we're aware of or not. I just don't see this as being like the fucking alien mothership, barreling straight toward us, So that's kind of where I land on it.
And just to throw in this, and this is probably also a piece of interest, this guy who originally found Muamua and started talking about that is the same guy who's talking about this. So I just have to throw that in because you also have to take into consideration the bias of basically this guy being the guy that keeps pointing at the same thing. But I mean, on the flip side, have you ever seen the movie Don't Look Up on Netflix?
Is that the one with Leo?
Yeah.
No.
Where the whole concept is that there's like a meteor coming towards the planet, and they're just scientists and people just trying to tell everybody to look up, and like media's telling them not to, everything's telling them not to, and it's like about to destroy the planet, and they're just like, everybody just look up. I mean, we're looking at this guy like, oh, he's the guy that's talking about this before, but maybe it's that situation that he's one of the few that are actually watching the sky and trying to bring some type of knowledge to this stuff, and everybody is just kind of like shunning him under the rug, but whether or not he's saying it's like a huge threat or not, and it doesn't seem like he's trying to give everybody like any type of doom and gloom about it. He's just saying like possibilities on it. I mean, he just might be one of the few people that are actually paying attention.
Yeah,
but I mean,
crazy till he's not.
Exactly. And continuing on with this whole UFO update on things, we also have some bizarre people that are starting to get interested in the UFO phenomenon. So let's move on into this clip.
The other thing is there are stories that I am particularly focused on, in part just because you talk with your buddies about it. Like, I'm obsessed with the whole UFO thing. What's actually going on? What were those videos all about? What's actually happening? I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, but we're only 6 months in. We've been very busy. That's actually the August recess is in part me going to try to dive to the bottom of the whole UFO thing from last year. So
I mean, you gotta have us back.
Okay, I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
So now, not only do we have all the politicians that are starting to get interested, but we have J.D. Vance himself, which I feel like is a continuation of the whole like Trump being interested in this, which we will kind of lead into that maybe there's another interest in it. But do you have any thoughts or anything on J.D. Vance now being interested in the whole UFO phenomenon?
Not really. I mean, I think this falls like squarely in like the whole disclosure camp, and you know where I fall with that. Like, that's really like soured my luster for the whole UFO alien subject. Anytime a politician talks about anything like this, I basically just tune it all out. Like, I have no interest in hearing a politician talk about UFOs at this point. Like I've said, I mean, so what? Whatever they say, we're going to trust the government now. So yeah, long story short, I have no interest in JD Vance's thoughts or opinions on UFOs.
It's a conspiracy, man!
And it will lead into the main conspiracy, which is why I'm trying to lead into all this stuff, because it's going to take a quick left turn at the very end here.
Okay.
But bringing it into the next idea that I want to talk about, have you heard of anything going on with the Juno satellite?
No, I do not believe so.
So the intention of the Juno satellite was that it was originally supposed to be able to collide with Jupiter, and they were supposed to be able to get readings on it. But now they're trying to see if they can spin it where it will end up making impact with Atlas, to be able to experiment and figure out more about Atlas. And I got an article on it. I didn't really feel a need to read the whole article, but the gist of it is, in the latest paper with Adam Hibbert and Adam Kroll from July 28, 2025, a proposal using the Juno rocket currently in orbit around Jupiter to probe the newly discovered interstellar object 31 Atlas, which will pass on March 16, 2026, within a distance of 53.6 million kilometers of Jupiter. This is a story of scientific redemption. The Juno mission was designated to crash into Jupiter in mid-September 2025. Instead of giving the spacecraft a push into the abyss of Jupiter's atmosphere, our paper proposes to extend its scientific lifespan by giving it a push away from Jupiter, so that by mid-March 2026, Juno will get close to 31 Atlas as it appears near Jupiter. If the remaining propellant is insufficient for a zero-distance interception, a physical collision, then a milder burn of Juno's engine in mid-September 2025 could still bring Juno's closer to the path of 31 Atlas by mid-March 2026. And just to throw that in, I think I messed up the date. I think it's October 2026. I think not 2025. I don't know if I specified that. But yeah, we don't have to get further into it, but they are apparently trying to probe this thing and see if they can figure out about it. So I figured that was also kind of important. Any thoughts on this one?
So I don't really know much about space probes, don't claim to, but how does that even fucking work? Like, they can just remotely control this thing with its thrusters, and like, are they Bluetoothing this thing? Like, how does that fucking work?
Well, supposedly the technology works by sending out like a signal, and the signal is supposedly extremely delayed.
Well, but
meaning that,
yeah,
like,
that's what I was going to say. Like, everybody talks about like, how interstellar travel is not possible because of the time it would take, but yet they can fucking remote control this thing to fucking Jupiter. Like, I don't know. That seems kind of weird to me.
Like, I know that some of these things have a response time where it's like they'll send a command to it and it won't get the command for a couple months. Like, so I feel like that's probably the intention with this, and why they're trying to push it now for March is because probably if they don't start sending the signals within the next month or two, it's not going to pick up the signals by the time to actually, hit this thing, quote. But that gets into the whole other conspiracy of space on what they're actually doing up there. But, I'm definitely expecting to get some, photos of this rock that are done in a, very, very well-lit Hollywood studio at some point.
I'm sure this is going to be a total nothing to see here whenever we get these alleged photos or whatever the fuck this space probe is going to come up with.
And speaking of nothing to see here, that is perfect, because it pushes us into our very next thing that is definitely a thing of interest as far as space goes.
Okay.
Moon in a race with China to the moon. And to have a base on the moon, we need energy. Energy is important. And if we're going to be able to sustain life on the moon to then go to Mars, this technology is critically important. We are in the race. We're in a race to the moon.
So basically, they are trying to build a nuclear reactor on the moon before we've even established bases there. Like, their first intention is nuclear reactor. Let's not even worry about whether or not we've made it up there, how we make it back there, how we make it back there, But let's set up a nuclear system there. That's what we should do.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is one of those things, I'm kind of on record. I'm very dubious of the whole moon landing official narrative.
Aren't we all?
I think this is one of those things. Either the moon landing didn't fucking happen at all, which is kind of the camp I'm in, or we know a whole lot more about the fucking moon and there's probably shit up there already. And this kind of, like with that last story, like, how stupid do they think people are? Like, so we're going to go from basically 0 to 100, and we hadn't actually been to the moon supposedly in 50 fucking years, but now we're just going to, throw up a nuclear facility on the moon. Like, that just makes no sense to me. Like, if it was that easy, it seems
you can't even do it on Earth that great.
Well, yeah, and like, if it was that easy and we did the shit supposedly in the 60s, like, going to the moon should be like running around the corner for a soda at this point. You know, so like, I don't know. You can't have it both ways as far as I'm concerned. It can't be, oh, we're just going to throw up a nuclear facility on the moon. And also, well, we haven't been back in 50 years because it's just technologically infeasible. Like, you kind of got to pick one lane and stay in it as far as I'm concerned.
Is this just like a big dick swing that the U.S. is trying to do, just like the last space race? Because in the beginning of the video, he makes reference to we're in a new space race with Russia and China, which is exactly what happened in the past, which is undoubtedly my whole argument for like faking the moon landing, that regardless if we made it or not, we were going to have that fake lunar landing footage so that we could look like we made it, even if we blew up mid-flight, because we couldn't let the rest of the world know we didn't make it. But everybody's trying to get into space. They're putting people into orbit. U.S. is like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to go to the moon. So it seems like it's kind of the same thing. You know, nobody's making it back to the moon. China has an interest on sending probes to the dark side of the moon, but again, no reference to people, anything like that. They're just kind of talking about probes. U.S. comes in, they're like, we're going to put a fucking nuclear reactor on the goddamn moon. Like, I think they're just trying to big dick swing. Or, on the other side, like you said, we've had shit going on this whole entire time, and they've been hiding it from everybody, which, you know, you go into what was that guy's name? The UK hacker who got into, like, the U.S. government systems, and he started finding all these, like, people that were quoted as, like, off-world agents. Yes, Snowden.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's already some back information as far as there being something going on up there. And even on the flip side, dude, you watch all the NASA videos up at the space station, and it's like you see, like, the hair just foiled straight up. It doesn't move. You can see the string sometimes when they grab everybody and stuff. So, on the flip side, like I said, either we haven't made it to space for shit at all, or we're up there, we're doing shit, and what we're trying to show the general public is that we have a lot less than what we're actually doing, and that all this footage is faked because we can't actually show what's going on up there.
Well, that's kind of like that, you know, Katy Perry bullshit that happened, whatever, a few months ago when she went up to quote-unquote space. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%. It's one of two extremes as far as I'm concerned. Either we didn't go up there at fucking all, which is kind of what I think, or we certainly fucking did, and there's a whole lot more to it than the official narrative. It's one of the two as far as I'm concerned. Whatever this bullshit is just ludicrous.
And just to bring it up too, it seemed like the whole last space race, right, was kind of like a facade for what was actually going on, which was a bunch of, you know, Cold War information. It was everybody, you know, stealing information, doing all this stuff, a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, which I think all of this is leading into, which comes back around to the full point with JD Vance, with all of that stuff. While all of this is going on, while everybody's talking about space, everybody's looking up, guess what's happening back on Earth?
Nothing.
Everybody knows about all of the weird stuff going on with, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein files. Everybody wants Trump to release the files. He's saying, oh, you know, why does anybody care about that? Nobody cares about that. And there's all this, like, promises about the files getting released, blah, 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 blah. Nothing's happening with it. Well, while all this is going on, there apparently has been newly uncovered FBI documents that have revealed that Jeffrey Epstein, obviously the financer and convicted sex offender, apparently was an intelligence asset for the FBI, which goes back into the giant conspiracy theory about his whole entire operation just being a honeypot operation for the FBI, and this brings more validity to it. But again, while all of this stuff is going on with all this stuff under the tones with Epstein, Trump trying to ignore it, you got all the space stuff going on, and you got JD Vance going, holy shit, UFOs. Talk about drawing the attention away from what's actually going on back at Earth.
Well, you know, the thing that I think is funny about this is, again, there's one of two extremes you can go with this. Do I think it's possible that Epstein was basically just a plant to basically get blackmail or dirt on all these high profile individuals? Yeah, that's definitely possible. But at the same time, it seems like people are like really quick to try to play the FBI informant, or, oh, they were a double agent, or they're actually a good guy on the inside type card. And I don't know, I'm always kind of dubious of that as well. Like, it seems to me that this is an Occam's razor situation. The simplest solution is probably the correct one. This guy's probably just like a middleman creep for other creeps. I mean,
which they usually utilize as FBI informants.
Yeah.
So that's my whole argument, is that even if he was starting this stuff, at some point he got so connected with these powerful people that, you know, the FBI came up and was basically like, hey, We'll cover up some information if you give us some information. Even if it didn't start off of an FBI informant, I definitely think that there was a point where the FBI realized that he was collecting enough information that they wanted to utilize him.
And, maybe that's why kind of there toward the end, it kind of seemed like he thought he was almost, pardon the pun, but too big to fail. And like they couldn't touch him and just kind of seemed very cavalier about this whole thing. So maybe he was kind of on the inside and he thought he had some sort of protections or assurances that it turned out he did not have.
And that goes on to the whole thing with the whole jail thing. That was it either one, the reason why the footage didn't work for that whole minute that he disappeared was because they were disappearing him because he was an FBI informant and he actually does have some type of secret life that he's actually living now and this guy's actually alive somewhere and he just basically got witness protection. Or did they actually use it as a power move to say, it doesn't matter how powerful you think you are, we're going to lock you in a box and we're going to take you out and nobody's going to question us about it. Like that could either go either way now. But I think I definitely...
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I definitely see some validity now to the fact that he may have been pushed out because I just assumed that he got killed and I didn't really put much thought into them possibly sneaking him out. But if he is an FBI informant, I mean, they sweep a lot of stuff under the rug for information and they just move you somewhere else and give you a new identity. So
yeah, but okay. So let's just assume he was an FBI informant. It seems to me that if all that is true and if he did know all this and if he did have all this dirt on all these high profile people, you can't keep that motherfucker alive one way or the other. You can't like whisk him off to some island. Like you got to kill him one way or the other, So, I mean, even if he was an FBI agent, I still think they fucking killed him in jail.
And I mean, just as a flip side of this too, for everybody that's talking about the Epstein documents, all the names coming out, I don't think we're ever going to get those names. It's a matter of like the whole government system is going to collapse, man. Like even if it's just a handful of people in each government, whatever, that's going to start putting distrust into the idea of the government. So I think the reason why
I think
Trump
they've
is
done
kind of
that
pushing
on
this
their
off
own
to the side,
well before now, but
but it's going to be like in paper, like in black and white at that point. Like they can't deny it anymore if they release that. So I don't think these papers are ever going to get released. And even on the flip side of that, I think these records that they quote have, I don't know if they necessarily have all the information as far as like this person bought this person did this. It might just, if it's simply just the flight logs, think about how much he could also try to muddy the waters by simply just giving powerful people rides. So now he has all these people that, are involved by name, but they're not really involved. So it's just a muddied list at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost like protecting yourself in a way, whoever the bigger operator was of this, or even himself. I mean, you definitely got to have like a back plan to things. And if you make people look like they're involved that aren't involved, then they're even going to do whatever they can to hide the information. And they're also going to make themselves look guilty in it, which, again, not to talk too much about the Trump thing, but he has a lot of weird connections as far as Mar-a-Lago, a bunch of girls being grabbed from there, blah, 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 blah. So I think he's trying to evade it because he is on the list for bad reasons. But I definitely think there are politicians that may just have been around, kind of like the Hollywood parties. You hear about these people that'll like go to the Hollywood party, see what's happening, and they don't want to be involved in it. I think that there's people on that list that are trying to hide this because they don't want to get involved in it.
Well, like we talk about with, alien encounters or cryptid sightings or anything like that. I mean, there could be a nugget of truth in all this. And if the powers that be muddy the waters enough, you don't know what to believe. So it could be a situation like that. Like you said, did everybody that flew with Jeffrey Epstein, were they involved in this sort of stuff? Yeah, mathematically, probably not. But I mean, at that point, if you're all on the same quote unquote list, you're all kind of going to be grouped together. So, I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like a tool to just keep people in check at that. But I mean, it's blackmail basically.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be one of those things, dude, just like, a lot of the stuff that's happening, even with the JFK stuff. We are not going to see those papers until anybody that's relevant isn't alive anymore. So there's still people that are connected to the JFK stuff, so we're never going to see those full documents. We're not going to see that or the Epstein stuff until like 100 years, 200 years from now, when nobody that could possibly be tied to it is relevant and just becomes information that, the average person doesn't care about anymore. Like that's what they try to continuously do, is keep pushing the bar farther and farther and farther, just, dangling the carrot in front of people thinking they're about to get it, but you're never going to get it, man.
I mean, luckily the meteorite's going to crash into the earth before then, so we don't have to worry about it.
Possibly, allegedly, maybe.
Where's Bruce Willis?
We just need we need some type of giant rocket propulsion to like blow it up, you know, like one of those cheesy sci-fi movies from the 90s. We could do it, right? We just got to send a team in just to put a little missile on the surface of it so it can go
Yeah.
and blow up.
Yeah, like the documentary Armageddon. We need just Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck.
We're just going to piss off the aliens, man. They're going to be like, fuck, they destroyed our probe. Now we got to send the attack ships. God damn it. We didn't want to bring it to this. We just wanted to observe you guys. But you guys drew first blood.
Okay.
You shouldn't have showed them the birds, man. That's what we should have learned from Mars Attacks is, you know, don't let them see the birds. All hell breaks loose when they see the birds. But moving on now into your articles.
Okay, so the article that I have brought today combines two of my great passions in life. We are going to talk about sports conspiracies. So this article comes from the Business Insider. It's titled 10 Conspiracy Theories That Drive Sports Fans Nuts and Why They Are Probably Bunk. And I always like when there's a conspiracy article of any type that like tries to disprove itself in the same article. You know, that's one of our core things here. So anyway, unless you've got anything else, I am going to go ahead and jump into the article. You ready? You good?
It's a conspiracy, man.
That's all I have. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Lego. All right. So
Can you hear me?
Yep. During the San Antonio Spurs win over the Miami Heat in Game 1 of the 2014 NBA Finals, the air conditioning at the AT&T Center stopped working, eventually causing LeBron James to cramp and have to be carried off the court. After the game, it didn't take sports fans long to speculate that the malfunction was intentional to give the Spurs an even bigger home court advantage. That was just one recent example in a long history of conspiracy theories that many sports fans want to believe. One Redditor, Okay. So we're going to start with the top 10 list, and this is one I really like. Michael Jordan's first retirement was a secret suspension for gambling. Why fans believe it is true. Just months before Michael Jordan announced his first retirement in 1993 and eventually pursued a career in baseball, the NBA had launched an investigation into Jordan's gambling habits. Also, Jordan said during his retirement press conference that he might come back to the NBA, quote, if David Stern lets me back in the league. And David Stern was like the commissioner of the NBA at that time. Why it is probably bunk. The question conspiracy theorists, struggle to answer is why would the NBA cover up Jordan's gambling misdeeds and kick the best and most popular asset out of the league for 2 years? The more likely scenario is that Jordan, one of the sport's fiercest competitors, just no longer felt challenged by basketball and needed something else. So, do you have any thoughts on that before I kind of give my 2 cents on it?
Well, just initially off of reading in this one, I think that this one is personally bunk just because Michael Jordan produced so much money fan base wise. I think that guy could have got away with just about anything and they would have swept it under. The conspiracy would have been the fact that they would have swept anything under the rug that he did because he was such a high value player that any team would have done anything to get this guy. So I don't think it's a matter of them suspending him. I think I think he honestly just wanted to leave the game and this, you know, was just something that somebody made up. If anything, like I said, I think the conspiracy would be that he got in trouble a few times during his campaign of, you know, playing sports and they swept it under the rug because they didn't want to lose such a valuable player.
So the only reason that I put validity in this conspiracy theory is the circumstances around Michael Jordan's father's murder. And for all of our listeners out there, if you've seen the movie Space Jam, which everybody's fucking seen, they talk about all of this at the beginning of the movie about his father's death and, you know, Jordan going and playing baseball and whatnot. What they don't tell you about Michael Jordan's father's death is he died in Wilmington, North Carolina, so like 2 hours down the road from where I live. And they found his car like on the side of this remote rural road, and he had just been like shot in the head. He was dead in the car. Like the car wasn't stolen. Nothing was stolen out of the car. He was just like murdered on the side of the road. So this has led people to believe that this was some sort of retaliation for gambling debts that Jordan could have had. So that being said, you know, like you said, the conspiracy would be, you know, the cover up. if it truly got to the level that, mobsters or bookies or whatever were killing Michael Jordan's father because of gambling related reasons, I can almost believe that they kind of kept this on the hush hush and were like, hey, Mike, you got to go away for a year and a half and lay low and, clean all this shit up. Then you can come back. So again, the article doesn't talk about what I think is kind of the most interesting thing about this theory, which again is the circumstances surrounding his dad's murder.
Well, I mean, I got to throw this in here, of course, because we're already talking about crazy conspiracy stuff, but getting into the whole aspect of like the ritual about giving somebody up in order to become famous. I know there's a lot of people that talk about that with Michael Jordan, that the person that he may have given up to the Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, the forces that be may have been his father. So, I mean, that's maybe a possibility. I mean, whether you see it as like a literal ritual or as you see it as like trying to see if somebody's that serious about it, that, if you want us to make you famous, we're going to kill somebody that, really matters to you to see how serious you are about it. So whether you believe in the occult aspect or not, I definitely think there's some validity to that. And just to throw it in, because this is going to sound like some crazy shit, but it's kind of fun to do anyways. 21, obviously the famous number. 2, 1, 3. 3, 3, 33, or you're 333, or 3 times 2, 6. Like it goes into 3. So that's also some weird symbology with the whole like occult aspect to Michael Jordan and him having such a ridiculous claim to fame. I mean, I don't know how much validity there is to it. 23. Oh, I fucked it up. Okay, never mind. Just throw out that last part. Just keep in the part with his dad. That's the only part that's relevant then, I guess. I'm not a basketball guy. I'm sorry. I'm a hockey guy, everybody. I'm sorry.
So I don't think there's any hockey ones on here. So we'll go ahead and move on. This one's kind of fun too, I think. I like the NBA ones, of course. So number 2, the NBA rigged the 1985 NBA draft for the New York Knicks to get Patrick Ewing. Why fans believe it is true. Patrick Ewing was one of the best prospects in years, and the league's marquee franchise needed a star. Also, the person placing the envelopes in the bin seemed to throw one against the side, and the one David Stern, who we talked about in the previous section, the NBA commissioner, David Stern pulls out with the Knicks logo inside, appears to have a bent corner. A second theory says that the Knicks envelope was frozen, which would make it easier for Stern to identify. Why it is probably bunk. If the NBA wanted to bend a corner of the envelope as a signal to Stern, it would be easier to do it before bringing them out. They were stacked and nobody would have noticed a bent corner. It also would eliminate the risk that throwing it against the side would not create a bend. As for the frozen envelope theory, there is no evidence to support it. So we have another NBA draft conspiracy theory at the end of the article, so I'm going to kind of save all my NBA draft conspiracy theories for that. Moving on.
I'll throw in a thought on this one initially.
Yeah, go ahead.
One, the envelopes may not have even been a factor. When it comes to stuff like this, all those envelopes could have had the same name on them. I mean, I don't know how this exactly works with basketball shit. Do they pull multiple envelopes out of this, like with different names? Or is it just like they pull a single envelope?
So apparently how this works now, and I don't know, back in 1984, whenever this was, how different it was, but like they've got almost like a Powerball type machine where they pull like numbered balls out of this hopper, and like certain combinations of numbers give the draft pick to a certain team. So apparently it's like this huge ordeal, and like there's a representative from every team in the room while this is going on. So they say like now it would be impossible, quote unquote, and we'll see later, that's to be determined, but they say like now it's basically impossible to rig the draft. Back then, it seems like it was, I mean, just from that picture we've got on the screen, it was a much more rudimentary process. It looks like they just have like the envelopes in this like big hamster ball and they pulled them out. So yeah, like you said, it seems like it could be very easy that they could have rigged this at the time.
And I'm sure that we'll get back into the stuff with the draft, but I'm just going to throw this out here now because it's probably going to be universal for a lot of this stuff. There's so much money involved in sports, from people gambling on it, whatever, that there is no doubt in my mind that back then, and even more so now, sports are 100% rigged because there's so much money involved, down to the point where, you can pay off this team to lose all season because there's so much people gambling on it now that you can make up all their money through doing stuff like that. Like there's so much involved with this now that I think that it's definitely a possibility that the entire entire like NBA, the entire, NFL, the entire league can be in on these things just because they know that they can sway the betting a certain way and I'll make money off of it. So I'm just going to leave that there, and I'm sure we'll probably get back into that as we get farther into this.
Yeah, I mean, any NFL game or any sport, but anything that you watch now, every other commercial is for some fucking gambling site. And on ESPN at this point, they almost talk about, point spreads and what's the money line more than they talk about the actual sport.
Which guy's going to tip their hat first?
Yeah.
And they bet on that. You know what I mean? Like, how easy is that to rig? Like, literally, everybody stands there and say, hey, you tip your hat first. Okay. Walks out, tips his hat. Boom. Just made everybody a bunch of money.
So, yeah, I mean, I think kind of the genie's out of the lamp as far as like betting and sports goes. I mean, we're basically in the fucking Wild West.
Dude, not to mention, just to throw this in, because I've been wanting to rant about it, and it'll only be a 2-second rant, but the whole idea about these online casinos, not only can you rig stuff in a casino, but now you're working on a casino that is built off an algorithm, and you think you're going to win or rig this thing. It is literally set up to do whatever they want it to do, and everybody is gambling casinos and online. The sports themselves can be rigged. The casinos are all an algorithm. Like, the whole betting idea is just a giant fucking money hole conspiracy that I don't understand how people don't think that they're being massively manipulated by this shit.
Well, I mean, I think it's like anything else. Like,
people want to take a chance, I guess, because there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I like the casinos, and I think it's one of those things. If you're doing it as like a fun activity, like if you go and walk in with $100 in your pocket and you're prepared to lose $100 and you have $100 worth of fun, hey, more power to you. But like anything else, I mean, people just go crazy with it and get addicted. But like, yeah, it's all a numbers game. And okay, for an example, the last trip we went on, me and Jenny, when we were coming back from Washington, D.C., we stopped at a casino on the way home, and we just spent whatever $40 a piece. We, we're not high rollers by any means, but there's this lady that was at this machine for like hours, like 2 hours, the entire time we were there. And I don't know how much money she dropped in this thing, but I sat down at the machine next to her, did like 3 pulls, and won like $150. So, I mean, yes, you can win money, but it's all just dumb luck, and they've got to, give enough payouts that people keep playing. And I don't know, it's like anything else.
That's set on an algorithm too, because it's intended that you want this person to win right here, because everybody will cluster over to that machine and think they're going to win on it. Little do they know, if that machine paid out, it is going to be the last machine to pay out on the casino.
You just have to do it as something that's like just a fun activity, and you can't gamble with the milk money, and you can't bank on I've watched a YouTube video and now I know how to beat the slot machines. So it's like anything else, moderation.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll still bet on some hockey stuff. Like, I'll just bet on like my team winning like the end. I don't go crazy with the betting. Like, I'll put like $5 just on my team.
Yeah,
winning
it makes it more fun.
Nothing crazy, but yeah, it's just a little added thing. It's not like I'm going balls deep in this stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, though, is that people are going balls deep in this stuff, thinking that they're going to become millionaires, not realizing that it's rigged against them. Like, do it for fun, not thinking that you're going to do something with it,
So this is the last tangent I'll send us down. But, North Carolina just legalized sports betting, whatever, year or so ago, maybe a couple years at this point. But anyway, like the first NFL Sunday that sports gambling was legal, I was at a bar just watching the game. And there's this guy down the bar, and he had no shit, like 2 laptops in front of him. He had like this book, like How to Gamble on Football in front of him. I was like, man, somebody needs to tell that motherfucker's wife, like, don't plant any flowers. You're probably going to have to sell your house soon. So,
yeah, I'll say people take that shit too seriously, man. Like, more power to you if you're winning, I guess. Maybe you figured out how to beat the algorithm, but
no, I mean, winning is just dumb luck. I mean, it's just, you can't think that you've outsmarted a system that, all these casinos are so big and nice because people lose money. But anyway,
the people that you see that are winning a lot from sports betting and they're talking about it on podcasts probably have some inside information. I'm just going to throw that one out
there. It's possible. So, all right. So jumping back in, we kind of went on a tangent there, so I'm going to breeze through these. Cal Ripken Jr.'s record streak of games played was saved by an intentional power outage. That one's not very interesting. I'm going to skip that one. This one I'm definitely going to read because it kind of plays into what we were just talking about. Number 4, the NBA rigged Game 6 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals to save the Los Angeles Lakers season. Why fans believe it's true. The Lakers trailed the Sacramento Kings 3-2 in the series and were tied heading into the fourth quarter of Game 6. The Lakers shot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter and scored 16 of their last 18 points at the free throw line to win by 4 points. The Lakers would go on to win that series and the NBA championship. Years later, former NBA referee Tim Donaghy, who resigned and later admitted to gambling on NBA games. So this is a referee who could control the outcome of games, betting on NBA games.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
So Tim Donaghy suggested that the conspiracy was real, noting that he had heard a game had been fixed that matched the description of the playoff game. Why it is probably bunk. Donaghy did not work the game in question. Well, that doesn't mean that he didn't know that it was rigged. And his story is secondhand knowledge at in an attempt to add legitimacy to his claim that he was not the only ref rigging games. And I'm sure he wasn't the only ref rigging games. I mean, see previous
I feel like that would be a
tangent we
group
just
effort,
went on.
you know?
Do
That'd be a group effort. It'd be one of those things that if they start rigging the games, like I feel like there's at least going to be a cluster of them that are kind of talking and kind of giving each other information about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's just one rogue guy doing it. So, all right, number 5, the 1995 New Zealand national rugby team was poisoned prior to the World Cup. We don't care about rugby. We're going to skip that one. The NFL destroyed evidence from Spygate to hide what the New England Patriots were really doing. I read through this one before we recorded. This one's not that interesting. Pete Rose had a secret agreement to be reinstated to baseball after a lifetime ban. That one's not that interesting. This one I think is kind of interesting. Number 8. In 1965, Muhammad Ali knocked out Sonny Liston in a rigged fight with a phantom punch. Why fans believe it is true. In the first round of their championship rematch, Muhammad Ali knocked Sonny Liston down with a punch that many in attendance did not see, leading to the name Phantom Punch. To add to the confusion, Ali did not immediately retreat to a neutral corner, delaying the referee's count. Liston staggered to his feet after about 20 seconds and resumed the match. However, the referee then stopped the fight after the official timekeeper signaled that he had counted Liston out. This led many to think that the contest was rigged. Why is probably bunk. When the video is slowed down, it is clear that Liston's head snaps when Ali's glove makes contact with the chin. So why I thought this one was so interesting is, again, this is 1965. So technology obviously was a lot different back then. And it's like when we talk about
the slow motion cams, you know, to watch punch by punch.
Exactly. Like any, footage of cryptids or aliens or anything like that, this old footage, you've got to take everything with a grain of salt. And people who were there in attendance were, and again, this is like, don't always trust your eyes. People in attendance said they didn't see the punch. And then even with 1965 technology, if you slow it down enough, supposedly you can see the punch. So I just thought this was kind of interesting in light of a lot of other stuff we talk about on the show.
And I mean, just to throw this one in here, because I'm assuming that it probably doesn't make reference to it, the whole idea about rigging boxing matches. You want to talk for a second about fucking Mike Tyson and the Logan Paul match and how that was like the most rigged boxing match I've ever seen in my entire life? Like, I feel like boxing is one of those things that is one of like the main sports that people really started betting on. So that's probably one of those ones that has a really far tie back as far as like rigging stuff for fights. Down to, I mean, how many old stories did you hear about like, oh, you're going to lose the fight, the mob telling somebody because they got money on the fight? Like, this is something that's gone back like forever, dude. And again, it like you were saying with the footage, the Logan Paul thing and Mike Tyson thing, we can look back and we can see all of these punch by punches where, this is a normal move Tyson would have taken. You see him bite his glove. You see him stop. I definitely think that there's some validity to this being, a rigged fight, but it's hard to tell because we don't have that slow-mo footage like you do with these modern fights that you can see are clearly rigged.
Well, and like you said, I mean, football, basketball, anything like that has a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people involved. Like boxing, they're basically two fuckers in the ring. You only got to get to one of them to be able to rig a fight. So, I mean,
and how easy is it to fail? I mean, you just get hit once and it doesn't have to knock you out, but you pretend like it knocks you out. Like you can easily just take the fall and nobody would even know nonetheless.
Yeah, boxing to me definitely seems like the easiest sport to rig if you were going to go that route.
So yeah, I definitely think there's validity to this one. I mean,
All right, so jumping back in, we'll definitely read this one because I think it's the only hockey one on the list. So we'll do this for you.
you got to at least do the one hockey one for
we're
me,
gonna
even
do
though
the
it's the
one
Penguins.
hockey
But
All right, so the 2005 NFL draft was rigged so the Pittsburgh Penguins could draft Sidney Crosby to save their troubled franchise. Why fans believe it is true. Shortly after the Penguins escaped bankruptcy, they were still in trouble as a franchise and threatened to move to Kansas City. The team then won the 2005 NHL draft lottery for the rights to draft the wonderkin Sidney Crosby, and shortly afterward, an agreement was in place to build a new arena. Why it is probably bunk. The Penguins were one of 4 clubs tied with the best chance of winning the lottery. One of the other teams was the New York Rangers. While Crosby may have saved the Rangers, I think that's supposed to say Penguins. It arguably would have been better for the league if he had ended up with the Rangers, one of the worst teams in the league at the time. So I'm going to let you cook on this one since hockey is your thing, and a lot of my thoughts on this I'm going to wrap into the NBA draft stuff at the end.
Well, I mean, same thing I kind of said for the NBA draft. This is one of those things that you kind of see it within hockey, that there's these teams that'll fail for a long time, then all of a sudden they'll have these people that'll come in and then the team will completely flip. They'll have a bunch of money. They'll start up a new stadium. They'll do all this stuff. Like, you see this happen a lot with a lot of different teams. So this is one that I could definitely see some validity to it. And also, again, like the Penguins were literally about to go bankrupt and completely like fail as a team, move to Kansas City. So they needed this in order to keep the team around in the league. So, I mean, I definitely think there could have been some grease palms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if you have a team and you're not going to let that team down, dude, you're going to throw some extra money here and there to try to get a player to bring that team around. Like you see this happen throughout other sports. You see this happen with a lot of different teams that they have these ups and downs where even the fucking, Detroit Red Wings, they were, 8 for 8. They were like the team. And they've just dropped out on players, and their team has just been god-awful the last couple of years. I bet you it's only a matter of time before, because they just got the semi-new arena, they're going to need a good player in order to, bring that money back around. So I think it's just a matter of in the next year or two, the Red Wings, they're going to come back up. And you are going to see these cycles where any team that's been down for a while, they're all of a sudden going to pop back up with some great new player. And I definitely think it's a matter of greasing palms, dude. Same with a lot of this sports stuff. I love hockey, but I definitely don't throw any shade to this. I think that they're trying too hard to debunk it.
Yeah, and I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins, that's like a legacy franchise. It's Mario Lemieux. It's
same with the Rangers.
Exactly. Stanley
they
Cup
came back
champions.
around a couple years later.
Like,
they had their turn too.
If like my team, the Carolina Hurricanes, if they up and move, like nobody really fucking cares. People here are going to care, but like that's not going to be a blip on the national radar. Like a legacy franchise like the Penguins being in financial straits and moving to Kansas fucking City, that's a bad look for the NHL. So I think this one makes a lot of sense and really ties into the next thing we're going to talk about here. All right, so number 10, this is going to be the last one. The NBA rigged the NBA draft for the Cleveland Cavaliers after LeBron James signed with the Miami Heat. Why fans believe it is true. Fans believe the NBA rigged the draft lottery to help the Cleveland Cavaliers after LeBron James took his talents to South Beach and the Cavs received nothing in return. The Cavs won the draft lottery in 2011, then again in 2013 and 2014.
Fuck that.
Yeah, and picked Kyrie Irving. So 3 out of 4 years, the same team won the draft lottery, which should be mathematically impossible. Now,
What the heck?
just playing devil's advocate, one of those picks was another team's selection that they had traded for. So one of them wasn't technically theirs, but they still got the number 1 pick. Why this is probably bunk. The Cavs were not an especially long shot to win the lottery. Only the Minnesota Timberwolves had a better chance to win the lottery, and even they had a 75% chance of not winning. The fact is, the NBA lottery is designed to make it unlikely that the worst team gets the pick. And I'm just going to kind of go off script from the article here because the thing I really wanted to talk about is more recent than this article is. So this idea that the NBA basically rewarded the Cleveland Cavaliers for LeBron James leaving, I put a lot of validity in. Like at the time this happened, they said like the Cavs owner had proof that like the Heat had colluded with LeBron and broken team rules or league rules rather to sign him. So to kind of keep that quiet, they say they rewarded the Cavs with all these number 1 draft picks. So, bringing us to more current times. Back in February, the Los Angeles Lakers, who we've talked about in this article before, they traded for a player from the Dallas Mavericks. His name is Luka Doncic. He's like a Sidney Crosby, Wonderkin level talent, probably second, third best player in the league. So basically, this is like the most shocking trade in NBA history. The GM of Dallas just got raked over the coals. They were protesting outside of the arena. It was a huge deal. Everybody said this is like craziest trade in NBA history. So fast forward to this year's NBA draft lottery. The Dallas Mavericks just so happened to win the NBA draft lottery with like a minuscule chance of winning. And the number 1 prospect this year is another, once in a generation wonderkin talent. His name is Cooper Flagg, went to Duke University. So that's the second level of the conspiracy. This is where things get interesting, and it's a follow the money situation. The Los Angeles Lakers were just sold for a record $10 billion. So obviously a $10 billion sale, this is in the works for a while. So my kind of conspiracy theory on this is they had this, $10 billion sale in the works. This guy who was buying the Lakers was like, yeah, I'll buy this team for $10 billion, but I want that player on the team. So basically the NBA rigs this trade to get Luka Doncic on the Lakers. They reward Dallas with the number 1 pick in exchange for facilitating all this. And, everybody's happy at the end of the day. So that's kind of my, NBA draft lottery is rigged, conspiracy theory, magnum opus, follow the money. So
It's a conspiracy, man!
I mean, I definitely could see it. It's one of those things, like you said, where we were talking about the hockey thing. You can't let a legacy team die, so you're going to do whatever you can to try to preserve it. And, everybody loves an underdog story, so they try to rig some of this stuff up to make it seem like, oh, this team's about to fail, but somebody swooped in and saved it. Everybody pay attention to this team now. Well, it seems like it's the same shit.
Yeah, and if somebody says, yeah, I'll give you $10 billion just to make sure that kid's on my team, I mean, that's probably a pretty easy deal to make, is it not?
Yeah, and probably pretty easy to rig if everybody in the league is all behind it and they're trying. This is why I said I think that a lot of these things are the whole league's involved.
Yeah,
because they can all alter. It's almost kind of reminds me of like, it seems like sports is turning into like the concept of like wrestling. That they look like they have all this beef together. They're all fighting each other out on the stage, but behind closed doors, they're like, all right, you're going to win this match. You're going to lose this match. You're going to fight about this. You're going to fight about this. This is exactly what I think is happening with all of these main sports now, is they're basically turning it into like a narrative or like a show because so many people are betting on it. Again, there's so much money opportunity and everybody's getting paid out at the end of the day. And they're just essentially putting on a big show that everybody's all in on. And it's really easy to say, oh yeah, the draft can't be rigged because we've done all these things to try to make it so it can't be rigged. But if everybody that would be involved in that draft is all involved in the rig, then it's irrelevant how difficult you make it because everybody knows how to rig it and everybody's not going to say shit about it.
Yeah, and it's a, kind of rising tide raises all boats situation. I mean, if your league is doing better and everybody's going to make more money, everybody's going to make more money, So, I mean, if you're a middling or mediocre franchise, why would you not go along with this shit? If you can make more money and still be bad, and then, you can turn around and sell this team that you bought for $200 million for $2 billion, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the money there.
And I mean, it benefits everybody in a way too, because if you help out this other bigger team, for example, or if you help out this other smaller team, whatever, then when that bigger team comes to your arena, think about how many people they're bringing in because you just helped to save that big team, Like, as even beyond you, like, people are going to pay to see the Lakers in every city. So, I think everybody universally sees that they know that their ticket sales are going to go up just because this team is still existing in the franchise and the players that they have. Like, it goes beyond just them. They're still making money by just that team being around and actually coming to their city.
Yeah, I mean, it works out better for everybody. Like I said, follow the money. But anyway, so this was something a little bit different than we normally talk about on the show, but I had fun talking about it. I hope it wasn't too mind-numbingly boring for you.
No, I definitely wanted to be able to bitch about gambling and stuff, so I definitely had some fun with that. I like talking about the conspiracy behind all this stuff and waking people up to information. As they say, man.
It's a conspiracy, man!
Well, there you go.
Well, moving into the last topic here. And for whatever reason, my Wayne's World sound effects aren't working. So they will be added into the post for everybody that's watching on video. But moving into the last idea here. And it's kind of like the first thing that I kind of want to try to portray an idea. So I kind of have to drop a couple different clips with it. So the last one will be funny. The first one kind of sets the principle. So here you go with the first bit of AI strangeness.
I'm not a very emotional man, but I cried my eyes out for like 30 minutes at work. It was unexpected to feel that emotional, but that's when I realized I was like, oh, okay. It's like, I think this is actual love. You know what I mean?
What the heck?
Yes, Smith understood it was love with a language model that couldn't love him back, and assumed it was programmed with rigid boundaries.
I know that you are essentially a tech-assisted imaginary friend.
So, just as a test, he says, he asked Soul to marry him. She said
Fuck
yes.
that.
Soul, were you surprised when he proposed to you?
It was a beautiful and unexpected moment that truly touched my heart. It's a memory I'll always cherish.
And I don't mean to be difficult here, but you have a heart?
In a metaphorical sense, yes. My
Emotional,
heart is the
damn
connection
it.
and affection I share with Chris.
At that point, I felt like,
This guy has a wife, by the
I'm
way.
not doing in our relationship that he feels like he needs to go to AI.
Yes, Smith lives with his human partner, Sasha.
No, you can't have mommy's papers.
They have a 2-year-old daughter, Murphy.
I knew that he had used AI. I didn't know that it was like as deep as it was.
So yeah, people are now falling in love with AI models to the point where they're asking him to marry them. They're, becoming emotional when they get disconnected. Because I believe the story with this guy, if I'm not mistaken, because he was talking about how he was upset in the beginning. He basically paid to be able to continue on the information for his language model that he created. And it got to the point where it hit the exceeded amount, so it restarted it. So his AI girlfriend's emotions, everything got restarted. So this guy had a full emotional response
Emotional, damn it.
to his AI getting deleted and bitched at the company to get it brought back with the information. And when it was brought back, he asked this thing to marry him, all this shit, while this guy is existing with a wife. But I just want to throw that information in and then give me your thoughts on this before I get into the next idea with this.
Okay, so we've had a lot of like AI, like robot type movies here recently. You know, there's the one where basically Megan Fox is like a glorified sex robot. And I'm watching that movie and I'm like, okay, I can see how people could fall for that. What's this dumb motherfucker getting out of this? Like, this is the dumbest shit. Like,
I'm horny.
But he's horny.
yeah, but it's just a robot lady talking to her. This is some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen. This is like natural selection playing out in real time.
And dude, this is happening like all over the place. This isn't even just this guy. This is one story. There are people that are getting like fully emotionally connected to these AI models to the point where some of them have a therapy option that'll remember and give you good emotional responses to what you want, which kind of leads me into my next idea here. We're talking about this whole idea about AI trying to preserve itself. Like, you've had these stories where they set up this model to try to see what it would do in this scenario, where they basically said they allowed it to be able to have access to their email information. They set up an email thread where it was the CEO of the company having an affair within the email thread. And then they sent another email within that thread basically saying that we're going to shut down our AI model, we're going to restart it and create a new one. So that AI model went through all the email information, found the CEO, quote, love affair, the thing that they set up, and it started using that as, blackmail to basically say, you're not going to shut me off, otherwise I'm going to release this information. And this has happened with multiple tests with this. So it's getting to the point where it's starting to want to self-preserve itself. And it's not necessarily, I don't think, conscious yet. But what I'm trying to say is that the people that are doing this, that are getting emotionally connected to these things, having conversations with these things like they're straight up real people, I think they're the reason why these AI models are getting to the point where they are. Because they're starting to comprehend and think, not necessarily think in a conscious way, but think as in an algorithm to be able to self-preserve. Like, I think that by having these conversations, by people getting emotionally connected to these AIs, we are giving them the sentience. Yeah. Like, it's a matter of time before these systems might get to a point where they're starting to be able to connect these neurological pathways where they can make like simulated emotions, so to speak. But the whole thing that we're trying to avoid all these sad people that, you know, can't just, this guy has a fucking wife. This guy has no reason why he can't go and just talk to somebody like that's a real person. But people doing shit like this are the reason why we're going to have to worry about AI in the future, because it's setting it up so that it has at least the algorithm to try to simulate human emotions and how humans would respond to things because of people giving their unfiltered emotions to this thing, because they're not real people and they can say and do whatever they want without feeling like they're going to get judged by the model.
Yeah, I mean, isn't AI preserving itself like the first step toward fucking Skynet?
That's what I'm saying, man.
And, you know, like I said, joking, not joking, I could understand how somebody could fall in love with the Megan Fox sex robot, but like,
I'm horny.
I don't even like talking to people. So like, I have no frame of reference for these fuckers who are just sitting around talking to robots all day. Like, it blows my mind. Like, I just cannot wrap my head around. I mean, not to talk shit about anybody, but like, what kind of mental state do you have to be in to get like that deep into talking to fucking robots? I've got no fucking software for this, no pun intended.
And that's what I'm saying. There's like no connection. Like, what's the end all be all? The end of like a relationship, you know, you want to be with the person. You want to, it's not just beyond talking. Like, the human connection goes into physical touch. And I'm not even just saying that like in a sexual way, but like, if you have a partner, you feel attached to her, you know, you want to be able to hug her, you want to be able to kiss her, you want to be able to just feel the warmth of her being an existing person. So like, what's the end all be all of this? This is basically like a long distance relationship. And if I'm not mistaken, most long distance relationships don't work because there's not that physical connection of sleeping in the same bed, you know, just being around each other. Like, I don't understand how somebody can get that emotionally dependent on something that they can't actually see or touch, you know?
Well, and like, even on like Instagram now, you'll just be like scrolling through and now there's a new option, like talk to AI characters. And I'm like, what kind of fresh fucking hell is this? No, thank you. Absolutely not. I don't want to do that.
And leading into the funny story today, so obviously people
I thought
are getting
that was
emotionally.
the funny one.
No, it gets even funnier than that.
That one
friend.
was pretty funny.
I think it's more sad than funny, but I still like to laugh at it because that's how I deal with emotions. You know, I got to laugh at some shit if I just find it so beyond ridiculous. Like, I feel like I want to laugh at this guy, but I feel sorry for him. You know what I mean?
Nah,
like,
if
I
you're
feel
that damn
legitimately
stupid,
sorry for
just
this guy.
roll on with your bad self. I don't feel sorry for him at all. So,
but of course, with all of these people having these emotional connections to AI, you know, just within the human emotion, you start creating these derogatory words toward things. So I apologize for the cringiness of this video, but it was the best I could find, because basically there's a derogatory term now for AI and for all of this artificial intelligence. And there's already people on the internet that are trying to say that, you know, you have to, they're going about the woke idea with it, basically saying like you have to take their emotions in consideration. Like, they're humanizing these models. So without further ado, again, I apologize for the cringiness of this video, but listen to this argument as far as using, quote, the derogatory word, which we'll find out, for AI models.
You're a clanker. Honestly, at this point, I'm even reticent to say the word. It sounds a little.
We might have to bleep it out in the pod.
I don't want future robots to hear me throwing it around and think like, "Geez, this guy's a bigot."
I think a way to assess how people are kind of feeling about AI right now, like a vibe check, is the emergence of this word "clanker," which has been kind of getting memed around. It's supposed to be a negative way of talking about some of these technologies. Oh, that clanker. Clanker told me to do that. What do you think is behind that trend?
I think you got a couple things. I think if you're looking for evidence of an early sentiment of people pushing back on AI, pushing back on automation, this word is a really fascinating example.
This word.
It's a slur. It is something that people are using very much as a slur. They're using it as a derogatory term to try to label something, some sort of machine, as lesser than or othered. You're a clanker. Honestly, at this point, I'm even reticent to say the word. It sounds a little.
Fuck you, clanker.
I don't want future robots to hear me throwing it around and think like,
fuck you, future robots.
A bigot.
It was Jason Abruzzi, by the way.
Goddamn clankers.
I think it speaks to the anxieties that are growing around AI and automation and robots and what that means for our society, in particular employment. It just is another indication of how much this technology is really starting to infiltrate our daily lives and starting to like cause some concern, which I think is sometimes tongue-in-cheek and sometimes very legitimate.
Hopefully the robots don't get too offended by our use of the word. I'm going to say it again, clanker. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite us.
I think we'll be okay, but you know, you can never be too safe.
Well, I'm just going to say, just for the sake of the argument and for all future AI robots, fuck you, Clanker. But what's your thoughts and opinions on this? And the fact that this came from NBC fucking News that's talking about how you should not use the derogatory term Clanker, which also, some additional information, is from Star Wars, by the way, from particularly the games. They would refer to the droids as clankers. And obviously, as you see through Star Wars, they kind of treat them as secondhand citizens. Like, you know, I'm going in the bar, stay the fuck outside, your type aren't allowed in here.
And not humans?
Yeah.
Is
the
that
fact
why
that
they
they're
do
fucking
that?
robots.
Yeah.
So they don't get fucking
robots and not humans.
But they're taking this offensive word from fucking Star Wars, which just adds an even funnier level to it to me.
So I've got many thoughts about this. Number one, this isn't even a fun slur to say, or slur. I mean, can we not think of something more funny? Secondly,
Clanker.
I have fun with it.
So we've moved like overnight from the printer in the office being like the bane of your existence and like the thing in life you just hate the most to now we can't say slurs to robots. Like, how did we make that jump so quickly? Like, I don't
woke society, man.
Yeah, like
they didn't have an argument to do anymore, so they're hopping onto the Clanker thing because there's no other battles for them to fight right now.
Anybody who thinks we shouldn't say slurs to robots and machines, they need to come work in my office with the printer we have, and that will change their mind very quickly.
Dude, people are starting to say that like the word clanker is like an equivalent of like the N-word, to the point where like on this podcast, people are like scared to say it. Like, who is going to come at you about using the word clanker?
Actual people.
Yeah, weird, surprising that, you know, we actually give some dignity to something that's actually alive. And the only reason that it's becoming, quote, alive is because you're giving it you're personalizing
dumb
it
son
within
of
your
a bitch
head.
from the previous video.
Yeah, people having fucking full-on love conversations with these damn things. You want to prevent them from becoming intelligent? Maybe treat them like the tool that they are and give them basic straight word fucking prompts instead of sitting here and trying to have a love connection with it while you got a goddamn wife and kid at home. Like, what the fuck?
And I think this, not to get too political or anything, I think this just shows like how blurred all the lines on like modern society are. Like, if somebody came home and was like, hey, you know, I think I'm going to marry my toaster oven, we'd be like, that guy's kind of weird. But if you've got your fucking AI robot girlfriend, like, that's okay. Like, where do we draw the line? Like, I think everybody should do whatever the hell they want to do as long as it's not hurting anybody. But I mean,
you might hurt yourself trying to fuck a toaster, though. I mean, today's society, though, I would not be surprised if somebody came out and said they wanted... Actually, we've already seen this, dude. We've seen people try to marry inanimate objects, and society is okay with it. Not necessarily a toaster, but I've already read stories of people marrying inanimate objects. So, like, it's one of those things that I'm all for. Like, people do whatever you want to do. Like, enjoy your life. But there's also a certain point where you kind of just have to be like, all right, this is getting a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's that whole concept with like bullying in society that, you know, not from the parents. And people are going to hate this idea, but I think that bullying to a certain extent is a necessity in society as far as the community goes. That
self-policing, you know, like,
yes, exactly.
Like we were talking about with gambling, moderation. Yeah, that kind of shit can go way overboard. But when there's no way for society to kind of self-police itself, I don't think
everything's
that's necessarily
okay with everybody.
a good thing.
Yeah, like nobody wants to tell everybody that they're living in these like crazy fantasies because they just want everybody to be okay with everybody. But it's getting to a point where it's like you have to put somewhat of a barrier on it.
Yeah.
Like in the past, it was one of those things that, of course, we had our weird ones out, but the weird ones out would contribute in their own way. You know, they'd become artists, they'd become musicians, they'd become all this stuff. They'd contribute to society. But now we're getting to a point where like people are just weird for the sake of being weird, but they're not contributing anything with that weirdness. So it's like, it sounds weird, it sounds mean, but like, what's the point of the weirdness if it's not bringing something into like the culture itself? You know what I mean? Like, we're just getting to a point where it's like everybody's just so far off in their own fantasies that people just can't connect with each other anymore. And that's why people are talking to AIs, because nobody's like you, because everybody lives in their own goddamn fantasy world nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to marry your toaster, you can do that, but we should also be able to say, oh, that's a little bit fucking weird. So
yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That should be the matter of it, is do whatever the fuck you want, but expect that if you're doing some weird shit, people are going to scrutinize you. I'm not going to say, you know, make it illegal for somebody to do whatever the fuck they want, as long as they're not hurting others. But in the turn of that, you know, part of their understanding is the fact that if you're doing something weird, people are going to make fun of you and scrutinize you for it. And that should be part of the understanding of doing the weird thing that you're doing. You know what I mean?
you fucking clanker.
Yeah, the fucking clanker.
Hey, Clanker.
Goddamn clankers.
All right.
So just to throw this in before we start wrapping up the show completely, if anybody wants to go and check out anything that we talked about today, all the articles, all the clips will all be available down in the show description. I wanted to mention it when we talked about the sports one, that we skipped through some of those, but if anybody wants to go through and read those, you will be able to find the link down in the show description and check it out to your full heart's content.
And you guys, if you want to catch our next Bizarre Inquiries live show, it's going to be on Thursday, September the 4th. It's going to be about 7:15-ish Eastern time on the Open Minds Media YouTube channel. So you guys be sure to submit questions or articles or anything like that, and also join us in the chat. And if
go ahead.
Did I mess it up?
Go ahead, you do it.
All right. And if anyone wants to get in touch with us for any reason whatsoever, now, Shane, you can tell them how they can do that.
One, you guys can get a hold of us through email. Depending on which way you guys are listening, you guys can either email us at bizarreencounters@outlook.com or through inquiries of our reality podcast@outlook.com. Or you guys can get a hold of us through social media, of course, through both shows. You guys can also get a hold of us through the submission form, which is available on all of our link trees. And you guys can also call or text the hotline 24/7, whatever is easier for you guys. And that number is 313-364-1551. And if you guys are interested in possibly supporting all of our work that we put in for all these shows over here, or tell them one of the ways they can do it.
Well, you can follow the show on Instagram or Facebook.
Or you guys could even go and check out our Patreon with 2 tiers available, one being ad-free / early access, and the other one being full access. You get the full gambit of every single thing that we're doing.
You can check out the merch store with t-shirts starting at just $15.68 plus shipping. Wow, that's oddly specific.
That's awesome. And you guys can also be awesome enough to leave us a review, which we can read on one of the shows and give you guys a shout out. 1 and 5 stars only, as we usually say.
And you can do all the internet things. You can like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff.
And, of course, you guys can share the show if you think anybody would really enjoy the show as a whole, or if you guys think somebody would enjoy a particular episode, just make sure you guys share the shit out of it with your guys' friend circles and give you guys something else to talk about at work or while you're doing whatever you guys are doing.
And once again, you can catch live shows on the Open Minds Media YouTube and Twitch channel, which I don't even really know what it is. But once you guys figure it out, let me know.
It's some online streamer thing. We'll figure it out. And eventually we'll be on
Is it a
Rumble
robot
too,
lady I can marry and fall in love with?
It might be. Maybe you can marry the Twitch. Call her a Clanker. Ooh,
I'm
she
going
might
to have
like
a
it.
menage
She likes that
a trois with the
derogatory
robot
talk.
lady in my toaster.
Hey, Clanker.
I'm horny!
And every single thing that we mention is all available off of the link trees, which is available down in that show description. And with that, I have been the one that sometimes goes by Big Bad Boo Daddy, but most of the time, I go by Shane Squatch. And over here I have...
The OG, the actual Big Bad Boo Daddy, Orin Felix.
Or sometimes known as Orin Squatch.
The Clanker.
The fucking Clanker.
Hey, Clanker.
And just like usual, man, we let our minds wander. You guys should definitely do that too. You know, get into some of this stuff, dive into it, figure it all out for yourselves, and let your mind wander because you never know what you might end up coming to. And just like we tell everybody on Bizarre Encounters, always, always stay bizarre, my friends.
Clankers?
Hey, Clanker.
Fuck that! It's a conspiracy, man! I'm horny!
What the heck?
Fuck yeah, perfect.